Ari Solon had always felt a little different, but never in a way that made life unbearable. They were quieter than most kids their age, more comfortable with old astronomy books than big crowds. They liked to sit on the roof at night and watch the sky, imagining someone out there watching back. It was a harmless habit, at least until the day the sky actually answered Dot. It began on a warm afternoon. Ari was returning from school, walking home on a quiet street where nothing exciting ever happened. The sun was still high, the air carried the smell of dust and flowers, and Ari was thinking about homework when a deep humming sound filled the sky low at first, like a distant machine. People paused on sidewalks. A dog stopped barking. Birds scattered all at once. The humming grew louder, and Ari felt a strange tightness in their chest, as if some invisible force were pulling at the air around them. They looked up and saw a bright shape forming among the clouds. At first, Ari thought it was a trick of the light, but then the shape grew larger, clearer, and unmistakably real. A ship, massive, metallic, and glowing with a bluish light, drifted through the sky, as if the laws of gravity had simply stepped aside. Cars stopped. Phones came out. People stared in stunned silence. The ship hovered for several long moments. Then smaller lights detached from it, descending slowly until they touched down in the middle of the city plaza. Ari stood frozen on the sidewalk, not sure whether to run or keep watching. A wave of cold swept through them, not fear exactly, but something they didn't have a name for. Within minutes, every screen in the city flickered on. News channels, billboards, phones, everything displayed the same message. The Galactic Concorde had arrived on Earth with urgent news. Ari had never heard the name before. It didn't sound friendly or unfriendly, just ancient. Like something humans were never meant to know. Ari wandered with the crowd toward the plaza, pulled by curiosity and a strange feeling deep inside, like a thread tugging them forward. By the time they arrived, a large protective barrier had formed around the landing site. Government officials, soldiers, and scientists stood behind the barrier, while three tall figures walked out of the descending lights. The aliens weren't frightening. They didn't carry weapons, didn't show aggression. They were quiet and smooth-moving, with pale gray skin and long, calm eyes. Their presence felt heavy, not because they looked intimidating, but because everyone sensed they hadn't come for something small. A speaker near the barrier crackled, and a translator, AI, started working. One of the aliens stepped forward and spoke in a soft, melodic tone. "We come seeking the one called Ari Solon." A wave of confusion rolled through the crowd. People looked at one another, whispering. Ari felt their heart drop. They didn't know what to do. Why would actual aliens know their name? Ari took a step back without thinking. The alien continued. "This individual has been identified as an existential variable. Their future cannot be predicted by any of our probability systems. For the safety of all civilizations, they must be placed under Concorde containment." Containment. The word alone sent a chill over the entire plaza. A government representative, Ambassador Reyes, stepped toward the barrier. He kept his voice calm. Earth does not hand over its citizens without understanding why. What threat does this child pose to you? The alien's long eyes blinked slowly. Your species relies on choice. Ours relies on certainty. We map the future to prevent disaster. But this young one's path is unreadable. Their presence fractures our sight of what is to come. A being without a predictable future is a danger we cannot ignore. Ari felt every eye in the plaza settle on them. They wanted to hide, disappear, melt into the pavement, anything except stand there exposed. They weren't special. They weren't dangerous. They struggled in math class, forgot birthdays, lost pencils, and had no idea what they wanted to be when they grew up. How could that possibly threaten the galaxy? Ambassador Reyes raised a hand. You are asking us to surrender a child based on fear of what might happen. The alien replied, "Fear is irrelevant. We act on probability, and the possibility surrounding this one is infinite." A hush fell over the crowd. Ari felt dizzy. Infinite? Was that supposed to be good or terrible? Reyes didn't back down. "We will not give you this child." The aliens exchanged a glance, their expressions unreadable. The speaker carried their calm voices through the plaza. "Your refusal will create tension between Earth and the Concord. Our protocols are not meant to be resisted." Reyes stepped even closer to the barrier. His voice hardened. "Then your protocols will have to change. On Earth, we do not abandon our own because others are afraid of what they might become." The plaza erupted into murmurs. Some people cheered softly. Others whispered anxiously. Ari stood frozen, torn between relief and guilt. Humanity had just stood up for them against beings with ships that could cross stars. But why? Ari felt like the least important person to defend. The aliens turned away, their decision already made. "We will begin quarantine procedures. Your world will be isolated until the variable is surrendered." And with that, they walked back toward their ship. The barrier dissolved. People rushed forward, surrounding Ari with questions. A few citizens stepped back, wary, unsure how to react, but most were simply confused or concerned. A group of officials escorted Ari away for safety, and for the first time in their life, Ari felt like they were standing on the edge of something enormous and terrifying. Later that evening, Ari sat in a quiet room inside a government building. The lights were soft, and a cup of untouched tea sat on the table. Exhaustion made everything feel foggy. Ari stared at the floor until footsteps entered. Ambassador Reyes came in, taking a seat beside them. His tone was gentle. "I know this is overwhelming. None of this is your fault." Ari kept their eyes low. "Why are they afraid of me? I'm nobody." Reyes shook his head. "You're not nobody. And you're not dangerous." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Their technology lets them see possible futures. And for some reason, they can't see yours. That scares them." Ari frowned. "But I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. How could I change the galaxy?" "Maybe that's exactly why," Reyes said. "You're unpredictable in a way they've never dealt with. But that doesn't make you bad. It just makes you human." Ari swallowed hard. "Everyone is risking so much because of me. What if they're right? What if something goes wrong because I exist?" Reyes placed a hand on the table, steady and calm. "Listen to me. On Earth, we don't decide someone's worth based on fear or predictions. You're a person, not a probability. And we protect our people." The room fell quiet. Ari didn't know what to say. A part of them wanted to believe him, cling to the idea that humans would stand by them no matter what. But another part whispered that humanity was facing something huge and unknown because of a single ordinary teenager. That night, Ari was moved to a secure but comfortable location. There were no bars, no locked doors, just guards outside and soft lights inside. They looked out the window at the sky. The alien ship still hovered above the atmosphere, unmoving, watching Earth like a silent warning. Ari wondered what the aliens meant by containment. They pictured cold metal rooms, strange machines, and loneliness so deep it hurt. They imagined being taken from Earth, from their family, from everything they knew. A shiver ran through them, as they watched the sky. Ari thought about the stars they used to admire at night. They had always imagined them as distant friends, unreachable but comforting. Tonight, for the first time, the stars felt like they were staring back with suspicion. Rejected by the stars, it didn't feel fair. Ari hadn't done anything. The next day, global news channels replayed the aliens' message nonstop. Debates raged across countries. Some people were afraid. Others were angry. But the strongest voice was the one of Unity people, saying humanity wouldn't hand over a child because another species had math that couldn't predict their choices. Eri watched all of this quietly. The world was changing because of them. It felt heavy, like a weight pressing down. But somewhere beneath the fear, a small spark lit up an idea that maybe, just maybe, they weren't a mistake. Maybe their unpredictability meant something. And though Ari didn't know it yet, the galaxy had been thrown into motion. A single human future had split the paths of countless civilizations. Ari had always wondered if someone out there was watching. Now they knew. And humanity was watching back. After the alien ship appeared in Earth's sky, life on the planet changed almost overnight. News channels reported the event every minute. People gathered in homes, shops, schools, everywhere trying to make sense of the aliens' demand. The idea that one teenager's future could affect the entire galaxy sounded unreal, like something from a movie. But the ship floating silently above Earth was very real, and nobody could pretend otherwise. Ari Solon woke up early the next morning in the secure living quarters the officials had arranged. The room was simple but comfortable. The window faced the early sunrise. The light stretched across the sky in soft colors, and for a moment, Ari forgot everything. It almost felt like a normal day. Then they remembered the aliens, the word containment, and the fear in everyone's eyes when the Concorde made their demand. A quiet knock sounded at the door. A guard stepped in with a polite smile. "Good morning. The ambassador wants to see you in the main room. There's something important to discuss." Ari nodded slowly. Their stomach felt tight, the kind of feeling you get before an exam you didn't study for. They followed the guard down a hallway lined with soft lights. Every few steps, Ari noticed more people in suits speaking urgently into communication devices. Maps and star charts floated on screens. It was clear the world was planning something big. When they reached the main room, Ambassador Reyes was standing over a holographic display of Earth. He turned when Ari entered and offered a warm, steady smile. "Good morning," he said. "How are you holding up?" Ari shrugged a little. "I still feel like I'm dreaming. A weird dream." "That makes two of us," he replied gently. Ari sat across from him as he turned off the hologram. Reyes looked tired, like he hadn't slept much, but his voice stayed calm. "There's something you should know," he began. "Last night, the leaders of all major countries met. They discussed what happened yesterday and what to do about the Concorde's demand." Ari braced themselves. "Are they going to give me to them?" "No," Reyes said firmly. "Not a chance. Not one country agreed to that." Ari let out a shaky breath, unsure if it came from relief or fear. Reyes continued, "In fact, something remarkable happened. Every nation signed a new global agreement. It's called the Aegis Accord. It was created for your protection." Ari blinked. "A whole agreement? Just for me?" "Yes, and more importantly, it shows that humanity is united in this. No matter what the Concorde says, we stand together." The words felt heavy. Ari didn't know what to say. They had never imagined the entire world would come together because of them. It didn't feel real. What if the aliens get angry? Ari asked quietly. "They already are," Reyes admitted, "but Earth isn't backing down. We're strengthening defenses, coordinating satellites, improving communication systems. Our scientists worked through the night studying alien signals." Ari couldn't stop the guilt that rose inside them. "I don't want people to fight because of me." Reyes softened his voice. "You're not the reason we're standing up. We're doing this because the idea of surrendering a human child to strangers without reason goes against everything we believe. Ari nodded slowly, though their nerves didn't calm. They wondered how many people were scared right now. How many families whispered about them in their homes. Later that day, Ari was allowed into a quiet garden inside the building. It was small but peaceful, green plants, a small fountain, and a few benches. A place meant to help them breathe. Ari sat on the edge of the fountain and dipped their fingers into the cool water. They thought about their family. They missed home, missed the familiar smell of their room, missed their old normal life. A wave of homesickness hit hard. A soft voice spoke behind them. "You can talk to them soon. We're arranging a secure call." Ari turned to see one of the officials, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes. "Will they be safe?" Ari asked. "Yes," she said. "Your safety and your family's safety are our top priorities." Ari gave a tiny nod. They appreciated the kindness, but the weight inside them didn't lift as the day went on. News of Earth's refusal to surrender Ari spread across the world. People reacted in different ways. Some cheered, proud that humanity stood strong. Some were nervous, worried the aliens might respond with force. Others debated endlessly online. Was it right to protect one teenager at the risk of making an entire alien alliance unhappy? But something surprising happened. Instead of falling into fear or anger, most people came together in support. Communities organized peaceful gatherings. Students made signs saying things like, "Humans protect their own, and we choose compassion." Scientists held live streams explaining why unpredictability shouldn't be treated like a crime. Families lit candles at night in quiet solidarity, even across oceans. People found ways to show they cared. Ari didn't see those gatherings directly, but the officials mentioned them, and the warmth of those acts settled softly in their heart. For the first time since the aliens arrived, Ari felt less alone. But not everything was peaceful. The Galactic Concord issued a new message that afternoon. Their holographic transmission appeared over major cities. One of the tall aliens spoke with the same calm tone as before. "Earth's refusal interrupts established safety protocols. We will place your planet under observation. Your world is no longer authorized for space expansion, signal transmission beyond your star, or diplomatic contact. This measure will remain until the variable is surrendered." The message echoed across countries. People gathered around screens in shock. A global, quarantined Earth had never experienced anything like it. Inside the secure building, officials worked harder. They held fast meetings, talking in quiet but urgent voices. Scientists examined the alien message, trying to understand exactly what observation meant. Ari watched all of this with a growing feeling of helplessness. They wished they could do something, say something to fix the situation. But they couldn't even leave the building. That evening, Ari finally got to speak with their family through a secure video call. When the screen lit up, Ari's eyes burned instantly with tears they had been holding in all day. Their family's faces filled the screen, full of worry and relief. Their father spoke first. "Are you okay? They're treating you well?" Ari nodded, unable to speak for a moment. Their mother added softly, "We're here. We love you. None of this is your fault." Ari swallowed hard. "I'm sorry," they whispered. "I didn't want any of this. I didn't want people to be afraid." "We're not afraid," their mother said. "We're proud of you. And we're proud of everyone standing up for you." Ari wiped their eyes. The call helped, but it also made the situation feel even more real. Their family was safe, but the world had changed, and Ari had no idea what the future held. By the next morning, Earth's governments started working together in ways that had once seemed impossible. Scientists shared data openly. Nations that had argued for decades began planning side by side. Engineers worked on improving satellites, energy shields, and communication arrays. Ari overheard someone saying, "Humans innovate fastest when their backs are against the wall. It was strange knowing the entire planet was adjusting because of them. One of the scientists, a quiet man with gentle manners, spoke to Ari in the hallway. "We discovered something interesting," he said. "The aliens' prediction systems. They're based on probability lines. And your mind doesn't follow straight lines. That's not a bad thing. It might even be special." Ari frowned. "Special how?" "I just feel normal. Many important things feel normal from the inside," he said with a small smile. "Maybe your unpredictability isn't a threat. Maybe it's a reminder that life should have freedom." Ari didn't fully understand, but the idea stuck with them. Later, they sat again in the quiet garden, listening to the fountain. The sky above looked peaceful, but Ari knew the Concorde ship still hovered far beyond sight, as still as a watchful eye. Ari whispered to themselves, "I don't want to be a problem. I just want to live." But the world had chosen differently. Humanity had drawn a line, protecting one of its own even when the stars turned cold dot as the sun began to set, the sky glowing orange and gold. Ari felt something shift inside, something small but solid. For the first time, they wondered if maybe there was more to them than they ever believed. Maybe they weren't a danger. Maybe they were simply different. And maybe, just maybe, being unpredictable wasn't something to fear, that it took only one night for everything to change. But it would take much longer to understand why. For now, Earth stood firm. The Concorde watched. And Ari waited, caught between a frightened galaxy and a planet stubborn enough to stand by them, no matter what happened next. The days after Earth rejected the Concorde's demand were tense, but strangely peaceful at the same time. Life did not stop completely. People still went to work. Children still went to school. Stores still opened. But everything carried an invisible weight. It was like the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Ari Solon moved through each day quietly, watching the planet prepare itself. They spent most of their time in the secure building now known as the Aegis Center, where scientists, diplomats, and engineers worked nonstop. Lights glowed late into the night, and the windows always showed people rushing somewhere with files, devices, or messages. Ari tried to help however they could, even though there wasn't much they could do. They sat in on meetings sometimes, only to be told gently that they didn't need to understand everything. They joined training exercises, mostly to keep them calm and distracted. They answered questions about their childhood, their habits, their thoughts. Questions meant to help scientists understand why the Concorde's prediction systems couldn't read them. Most days, Ari felt less like a threat and more like a puzzle. One morning, Ari was sitting in the indoor garden, watching the sunlight slide across the floor. They had grown used to this place, though they still missed home. Birds chirped from speakers hidden in the trees, a calming touch added by someone thoughtful. A guard approached. "You're wanted in the main room again." Ari stood and followed him, expecting another long meeting filled with adult voices and complicated information. But when they entered the room, they saw something different. People staring at screens with focused, worried expressions. The atmosphere felt sharper. Ambassador Reyes turned as Ari walked in. "We have a situation." Ari's heart dropped. Did the aliens send another message? "Not exactly," Reyes said. "This isn't the Concorde. It's a splinter group." Ari frowned. "Splinter group?" Reyes pointed to the screen. "They call themselves the Precursor Heirs. They don't follow the full Concorde Council. They believe in taking actions the others won't." Ari felt a chill. If the Concorde was already strict and cold, what would a splinter group be like? A scientist explained, "We detected a ship approaching Earth. Quietly. Too quietly." Ari's pulse quickened. "What does that mean?" "It means," Reyes said, "they're not here to talk." A silence spread across the room. Ari felt their stomach twist, but the ambassador continued calmly. The good news is that they are small. Very small. They don't have the firepower the main Concord fleet has. But their goal is clear. They want to take you. Ari froze. Their breath caught in their throat. Take me how? We're not going to let that happen, Reyes said firmly. We've been preparing for this. Earth's new defense systems are ready. Ari didn't feel reassured, not completely. But they trusted Reyes. He had never lied, never made promises lightly. The room buzzed with activity. Engineers checked communication lines. Tech experts calibrated sensors. Drones were activated and positioned in the upper atmosphere, ready to act. For hours, everyone worked non-stop. Ari stayed near the window, watching the sky anxiously. It looked peaceful from the ground, just clouds drifting calmly. But Ari knew a ship was out there, hidden, approaching. Finally, a message came through. They've entered lower orbit, a technician said. 30 minutes until they reach our defense perimeter. Ari felt their hands tremble and clenched them into fists. They tried to remember the breathing exercises the psychologist had taught them. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale gently. Reyes walked over. You don't have to watch this. I want to, Ari said. I don't want to hide from everything. The ambassador nodded with quiet respect. Screens displayed the sky from different angles. The Precursor Air's ship appeared sleek, sharp-edged, glowing faintly like a shard of frozen light. It moved with unnerving precision, slicing through the air as if it belonged here. Earth's defense drones rose to meet it. They weren't built for fighting, only for blocking and diverting. They formed a swarm, surrounding the alien ship with coordinated movements that made Ari gasp. Humans had built these in only a few days? The alien ship scanned the drones, sending out ripples of energy that glowed across the sky. A scientist pointed. They're trying to disable ours. The drones responded instantly, adjusting positions, shifting frequencies, countering the alien pulses. AI operators murmured with pride. They're adapting quicker than expected, one said. Ari felt a spark of hope. Humans weren't helpless. They were clever. The alien ship pushed forward, sending another wave of energy. This one was stronger. The drones flickered, but Earth's new gravity-lensing shield activated around them. A transparent dome, the size of a small city, bending the energy away like light curving around glass. Ari's eyes widened. We have shields? Experimental, a scientist replied. We weren't sure they'd work. They're working now, Reyes said. The alien ship struggled. It twisted sideways, pressed against the invisible wall. For the first time, its movements looked less confident. The Earth defenses tightened. Drone swarms shifting like a school of fish, blocking a shark. Ari let out a relieved breath. But then something unexpected happened. Beam of pale light shot from the alien ship, not at the drones, not at the shield, but straight toward the Aegis Center. Toward Ari. Ari didn't even have time to scream. The beam wasn't bright or loud. It looked almost gentle, like a thread of soft light drifting toward them. But every alarm in the room exploded at once. Impact incoming. An operator shouted, "Shields around the building." Yelled another. The beam hit the outer layer of the Aegis Center, and everything shook gently, not violently, but enough to make objects tremble on tables. Ari felt a strange pressure wash over them, like a warm wave pushing against their skin. Then something even stranger happened. Ari's vision blurred. The world tilted. They felt a tug deep within their mind, as if someone was trying to pull them upward, out of themselves. Ari gasped and grabbed the edge of the table. The room became distant, the lights shifting strangely. They heard voices calling their name, but they sounded far away, echoing. Ari felt something unlock. A pressure in their chest released suddenly, like a knot untying. A pulse of energy burst from them, not loud, not bright, but strong. It rippled through the air like a silent shockwave, and the alien beam stopped, not weakened. Not blocked dot, it simply stopped frozen mid-air, like a line drawn on paper that couldn't move further. The glow dimmed. The entire alien ship jolted backward in the sky, as if someone had pushed it. Ari stumbled, falling to one knee. The strange feeling vanished as quickly as it had come. Reyes was at their side instantly. "Ari, are you all right?" Ari could barely speak. "What was that?" No one in the room answered immediately. Everyone stared at the screens. Stunned, the drones advanced. The alien ship retreated, visibly shaken. Its movements lost their smooth precision. It tried to regroup, but Earth's defenses tightened around it, like a net. Finally, the ship turned and fled, pulling back into the upper atmosphere, then disappearing from the sensors entirely. Silence filled the room. Ari looked around, breathing hard, feeling confused and exhausted. "Did I do something?" Ari asked faintly. A scientist approached, eyes wide with disbelief, but careful not to scare them. "Ari, the energy reading we just saw came from you. You stopped their beam. We don't know how." Ari's heart pounded. "I didn't mean to. I didn't even know I could." Reyes placed a hand on Ari's shoulder. "It's okay. No one was harmed. You reacted under pressure. You protected us." Ari shook their head, overwhelmed. They didn't feel powerful. They felt terrified. Whatever had happened inside them didn't feel like a superpower. It felt like losing control of a part of themselves they didn't know existed. The ambassador spoke softly. "You're safe. We're safe. That's what matters." Ari nodded weakly, though their hands still shook as the hours passed. People studied the data from the encounter. Every expert agreed on one thing. The precursor heirs had underestimated Earth, and they had definitely underestimated Ari. Lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of the building. They whispered to themselves, "Why do I have these abilities? What am I?" There was no answer. But one thing was clear. The galaxy was more afraid of Ari than ever, and Earth was more determined to protect them. The stars outside looked peaceful, but Ari knew something bigger was coming. Whatever forces surrounded them were only beginning to reveal themselves, and for better or worse. Ari Solon was at the center of it. Ari Solon didn't sleep much after the attack from the Yothat precursor heirs, even though they were safe. The memory of that strange energy rising inside their body stayed with them like a shadow. It had felt like someone else had taken over for a moment, someone stronger, someone unfamiliar. Every time Ari closed their eyes, they saw that beam of light frozen midair and felt that strange pulse moving through them. They didn't know how they did it, and the worst part was that they didn't know if it would happen again. The next morning, the Aegis Center was even busier than before. Everyone walked faster, talked in serious tones, and stared at screens filled with lines, patterns, and symbols. Ari didn't understand. The attack had shaken the world, but it had also proven something important. Earth could defend itself. People were frightened, yes, but they were also hopeful. Ari sat in the small garden again, trying to calm their mind. The gentle sound of the fountain helped, but only a little. Their thoughts kept circling the same questions. Why did I have that power? Where did it come from? Why can't the aliens see my future? Ari let out a long breath. They didn't have answers. After a while, Ambassador Reyes found them in the garden. He walked over slowly, giving Ari a moment to notice him before speaking. "We need to talk," he said gently. Ari nodded, though their stomach tightened. Conversations lately never brought anything simple. They followed Reyes to a large room where several scientists, historians, and analysts were waiting. The lights were dimmed, and a large hologram floated above the table, a swirling mix of stars and old symbols that looked ancient. Reyes pulled out a chair for Ari. We found something. Something important. Ari sat down, feeling everyone's eyes on them. The scientist from earlier, the quiet one with gentle manners, stepped forward. We've been studying old Concord archives, he said. Many of these files were forgotten, even by them. Our systems managed to decode small fragments. He pressed a button, and the hologram shifted into shapes Ari didn't recognize: circles, paths, glowing lines crossing through each other. These are records from a time long before the Concord ruled the galaxy, the scientist explained. Back when a different civilization existed. They were called the Precursors. Ari listened carefully. They had heard the name before from the splinter group that attacked Earth. The Precursors were extremely advanced. The scientist continued. More advanced than the Concord, maybe even more advanced than Earth someday. They had knowledge about time, choice, and the paths of the future. Ari blinked. The future? Like predicting it? Yes, but not in the simple way the Concord does. They didn't just predict paths, they shaped them. Ari frowned. What does this have to do with me? The scientist exchanged a glance with Reyes before answering. The Precursors created something known as a balance breaker, a being that didn't follow the expected path of the universe. Ari's heart skipped. Reyes added softly. A being. Like you. Ari froze. Me? But I'm just a normal person. The scientist shook his head gently. Ari, your genetic pattern is unusual. Not dangerous, just different. The Concord recognized it immediately. To them, your existence is something ancient. Something they've seen only in old records. Ari felt their chest tighten. You're saying they think I'm one of these balance breakers? We believe the Precursors made individuals like you during times of great crisis, the scientist said. Someone whose choices could change the path of an entire civilization. Someone unpredictable in the best possible way. Ari felt the room sway slightly. They gripped the side of their chair. Why me? Ari whispered. I didn't ask for this. We know, Reyes said softly. None of this is your fault. Ari looked down at their hands. They looked ordinary, nothing strange, nothing powerful. Just hands. What happened during the attack? Ari asked quietly. That energy, was that part of it? The scientist nodded. We think so. It was a form of space-time distortion. Not harmful, just protective. You reacted the way you were meant to, even if you didn't understand it. Ari shook their heads slowly. But I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to be some kind of tool. Reyes leaned forward. Ari, you're not a weapon. You're not a danger. You're a person. And humans don't judge someone based on fear or predictions. The room was silent for a few moments. Ari took a slow breath, trying to let the words settle. Why are the aliens so afraid of me then? Ari finally asked. The historian stepped forward, an older man with gentle eyes. Because the Concord is built on certainty. They believe safety comes from knowing every possible outcome. But you represent something they can't calculate. Freedom, the scientist said. Choice, a future that can change. Ari rubbed their forehead. So they're afraid of me because I can choose? In a way, Reyes said, yes. Ari sat back in their chair, overwhelmed. It was strange how something so normal, choice, freedom, unpredictability, became frightening to other species. Humans lived with unpredictability every day. Life itself was unpredictable. But the Concord didn't see it that way. Reyes placed a data tablet on the table with a soft thud. Here's something else we discovered. The Concord has a prophecy based on precursor records. They believe another great collapse might happen in the galaxy. Something big, something dangerous. And they think a balance breaker could either save many lives or lead to disaster. Ari felt the temperature in the room drop, even though the air was warm. So they think I could cause something bad? They think you could change something, the historian corrected. But they never understood that change isn't always bad. The scientist nodded. In fact, the precursors designed balance breakers for hope, not destruction. Ari pressed their hands together. So, the Concorde got scared for no reason? Fear often comes from not understanding, Reyes said gently. They see unpredictability as danger. Humans see it as opportunity. Ari let out a long breath and looked up at the hologram again. The swirling lines, the glowing paths, it all felt too big, too cosmic for one teenager to be part of. What am I supposed to do now? Ari asked quietly. If I'm this thing they fear, what should I do? Reyes answered without hesitation. You live your life. You make your own choices. You stay human. That's all. The simple answer made Ari smile slightly, even though they still felt confused. The rest of the day went by in a blur. Scientists brought Ari tests, not scary ones, just simple ones. Light patterns, sound waves, small puzzles. They weren't trying to measure power. They were trying to understand how Ari thought, how Ari reacted. Ari felt tired, but also strangely seen. Not as a danger. Not as a threat. Just as a person who needed answers. Later, Ari sat by the window of their room. Outside, the city glowed softly under the evening light. People walked along the streets, eating, talking, laughing, living. Even with a giant ship watching from above, Earth continued to move. Ari watched a family walking together below, a parent and two children holding hands. The way the kids jumped excitedly, pointing at a street musician, made Ari smile. Humans always found ways to live. Even when the stars tried to place fear on them, humans still chose joy. Ari whispered to themselves. Maybe that's what makes us different. For the first time since the Concorde arrived, Ari felt something new, something gentle and warm. A small, growing strength. Maybe being unpredictable wasn't a flaw. Maybe it was a gift. And maybe the galaxy needed someone who didn't fit the expected path. Someone who could choose differently. Someone human. That night, Ari slept a little better, not because everything made sense, but because they finally understood they weren't alone. The world stood with them. People cared. And the truth of who they were was not something to fear. Ari still didn't know what the future held, but maybe that was the point. The future wasn't supposed to be written. It was supposed to be lived. The next morning, Ari woke up to soft sunlight spilling through the window. It took them a moment to remember where they were. The Aegis Center, Earth's most secure research facility. The strange dreams from the night still lingered, dreams full of shifting stars, voices echoing from faraway worlds, and paths branching in every direction. Ari sat up slowly. Their chest felt oddly calm today, almost like the world inside them had finally taken a deep breath. After getting ready, Ari stepped into the quiet hallway. A few workers walked by with tablets in their hands, greeting Ari with respect, but also with a warm smile. It felt different from the first day. People weren't looking at Ari with fear anymore. They were looking at them with trust. A small group of scientists approached Ari, asking gently if they had time for a few tests later. Ari agreed, not because they had to, but because they wanted to help. If understanding them could help Earth or calm the Concorde, then it felt right. Just when Ari thought the morning would be peaceful, Ambassador Reyes appeared, looking more serious than usual. We have a situation, he said. Ari's heart tightened. Is everything okay? Reyes nodded. Nothing dangerous. But the Concord wants to speak with you. Ari blinked. Me? Why? They want clarity, Rees explained. They want to understand what happened during the attack and why their predictions failed. He paused for a moment. They also want to speak to you directly because they fear you. But they also need you. Ari felt a wave of nerves wash over them. Talking face to face with those giant star travelers felt overwhelming. But deep down, Ari knew this moment had to come. Okay, Ari said softly. Let's talk to them. Reyes placed a reassuring hand on Ari's shoulder and guided them toward the tall chamber where the Concord's communication system had been set up. The room looked like the inside of a quiet theater, with a large circular platform in the center dot. As Ari stepped onto the platform, the air shifted. A soft hum filled the space, and beams of light stretched outward, forming shapes. A moment later, the image of a Concord representative appeared tall, pale, with calm but unreadable eyes. The hologram looked down at Ari. You stand at the center of many unknown paths, the representative said. Its voice echoed gently, almost kindly. Your existence breaks the patterns we have relied on for thousands of years. Ari swallowed. I know. I'm not here to hurt anyone. The hologram flickered slightly. Our fear does not come from an assumption of harm. It comes from unpredictability. Every species relies on stability to survive. You are an anomaly, and anomalies often lead to collapse. Ari stepped forward, lifting their chin slightly. Humans live with unpredictability every day. We don't collapse. We adapt. The representative was silent for a moment. Humans are unique. Your species has grown quickly, survived great challenges, and made choices we could not foresee. Ari took a slow breath. You want answers from me. But I want answers too. Why did you avoid us for so long? Why did you look at Earth and see danger? The hologram shifted. Because the futures we saw involving humanity were always complicated. Some were bright. Some were dark. But all were powerful. It paused. We feared what we could not guide. Ari frowned. Why do you need to guide anything? Why does the future have to be controlled? To protect life, the representative said. If a path leads to destruction, we stop it. If a path leads to peace, we support it. Ari shook their head. But that means nobody gets to choose their own future. Choice is dangerous, the representative said simply. Ari stepped even closer to the hologram. Choice is living. The representative tilted its head. You speak with certainty, but you do not know what you are capable of. Ari hesitated at that. I don't know. I don't fully understand myself yet, but I know who I want to be. And who is that? The representative asked. A person who gets to choose their life, not someone controlled by fear, not someone shaped by predictions, just human. The hologram flickered again, as if processing Ari's words carefully. Your world protected you, the representative said after a long silence. Despite danger, despite risk, they stood against an enemy to shield you. Why? Ari felt warmth bloom in their chest. Because that's what humans do. The representative seemed confused. Even at the risk of their entire planet? Yes, Ari said softly. Exactly because of that. The hologram dimmed slightly, as if it understood something new. You are more dangerous than we imagined. It said not in a threatening tone, but a thoughtful one. Not because of your powers, not because of your unpredictability. It paused again, but because humanity chooses compassion, even when logic says otherwise. Ari didn't know what to say to that. The representative continued. We have studied your species. You fight for each other. You argue. You fail. You stand again. You show loyalty beyond reason. These qualities are not weaknesses. They make your futures impossible to calculate. Ari stepped back slightly. So what happens now? We must think, the representative replied. We must reconsider everything we believed about balance breakers, about your species, about choice. The hologram flickered. We are no longer certain that fear is the correct response. Ari felt a small spark of hope. But be clear, the representative added. There are those among us who still fear you. The precursor heirs are not finished. They believe you are a threat to the galaxy, and they will come again. A chill ran through Ari. Why? What do they want? They believe that harming the unpredictable is the only way to save the future. They see your existence as a sign of disaster. The representative paused. Their beliefs are old and dangerous. Ari looked down. So, I'm still in danger. Yes, the representative said gently. But now you are not alone. The hologram faded slowly, leaving the room quiet once more. Ari felt both heavy and strangely relieved. The Concord didn't fully trust them yet, but something had changed today. Something important. Reyes walked onto the platform with careful steps. You spoke well, he said softly. Ari let out a shaky breath. I don't know if it made any difference. Oh, it did, Reyes said with a small smile. You made them think. And sometimes that's the first step toward peace. Ari nodded slowly. What happens next? That, Reyes said, is up to you. Ari felt the weight of those words deeply. It wasn't pressure. It was possibility. Later that afternoon, Ari spent time in the garden again. The air was warm, the sunlight gentle, and the city beyond the window alive with normal life. Children played in the distance. People walked dogs. Vendors sold food on the street corner. Despite the fear of aliens and cosmic threats, humanity kept moving. Ari watched them and felt a deep sense of belonging. For the first time in days, Ari whispered softly, maybe being different isn't something to hide. The wind brushed against their face, carrying the scent of flowers and city life. Ari breathed it in slowly. If the Concord could change their view, even a little. If humanity could stand together despite fear. If Ari could choose their own path, then maybe the future wasn't something to fear after all. That evening, as the sun dipped behind distant buildings and painted the sky with soft orange light, Ari took a seat by the window and looked up into the growing dusk far above the clouds. The Concord's massive ship still hovered silently, watching Earth. But this time, Ari didn't feel judged or threatened. They felt, noticed, acknowledged, maybe even respected. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new fears, new decisions. But tonight, Ari allowed themselves something small and precious. Hope. Ari woke up the next morning feeling lighter, as if something inside them had quietly shifted overnight. The sky outside the window glowed with soft morning light, and the city below was already awake. It felt peaceful, almost too peaceful, considering everything happening beyond the clouds. But today didn't feel like a normal day. There was a strange quiet in the halls, a waiting kind of silence that felt like the world was holding its breath. Ari stepped into the hallway and found Ambassador Reyes already waiting for them. His expression was calm, but his eyes carried that seriousness Ari recognized by now. Something important had happened. What's going on? Ari asked immediately. Reyes motioned for them to follow. You should see for yourself. He led Ari to one of the large observation rooms. This room sat high above the rest of the building, its massive windows offering a clear view of the sky. Several scientists and officers were gathered inside, staring upward in silent focus. Ari followed their gaze, and there, breath caught. Another ship had arrived. It wasn't like the Concord's massive vessel. This one looked sharper, darker, shaped like a blade cutting through the sky. It hovered just outside Earth's upper atmosphere, and even from the ground, its presence felt tense. A whisper went through the room. The precursor heirs. Ari's heart began to race. They came back? Reyes nodded slowly. We expected it, but not this soon. Ari pressed their hand against the glass, staring at the ship. It felt cold, emotionless, like a shadow cast across the sky. What do they want? Ari whispered. Reyes exhaled. You. Ari didn't move for several seconds. The room felt still, silent, but not because of fear. It was something heavier, a shared understanding of what this moment meant. The precursor. Heirs hadn't come to destroy Earth or threaten humanity. They came with one purpose. Take Ari. Reyes placed a gentle hand on Ari's back. We won't give you to them. Ari swallowed. But if they came all this way, we don't negotiate with fear, Reyes said firmly. Not today. Not ever. Ari nodded slowly. It wasn't bravery. It was clarity. The precursor heirs believed Ari was a danger to the galaxy. They believed Ari's existence would change everything. And instead of trying to understand that change, they wanted to erase it, just like the Concord once feared, just like many species still feared. Many, but not all. A sudden tone echoed through the room. A communication request. Everyone turned as the main screen lit up. Words scrolled across in symbols that shifted into English a moment later, requesting direct communication with the balance breaker. Ari's stomach twisted. They want to talk to me. Reyes shook his head. You don't have to. Ari stepped forward. I do. The room stayed quiet, waiting. Reyes sighed softly, then stepped aside. You're not alone. Ari stood before the screen as the connection opened. The image that appeared wasn't fully clear, but Ari could make out a tall figure wearing dark armor. Its shape almost human, but with sharper angles and glowing patterns across the chest. Its voice was calm but cold. You are the anomaly. Ari straightened. I'm a person. You are a threat, the figure replied immediately. Your existence bends the timelines. Chaos surrounds you. Ari shook their head. I didn't ask for this, but I won't let you harm anyone because of something you don't understand. You misunderstand us, the figure said. We do not wish to harm humanity. We only wish to remove the imbalance you create. And you think I'm the imbalance? Ari asked. You are unpredictable, the figure answered. You break patterns. You change outcomes. The galaxy is not meant to shift so quickly. Ari breathed out slowly. Change isn't danger. The figure leaned closer to the screen, its eyes glowing faintly. Change creates collapse. Patterns keep civilizations alive. Ari felt something warm rise in their chest. Not anger, not fear. Something steadier. Patterns don't save people, Ari said softly. People save people. The figure didn't respond at first. Ari continued. You keep talking about stability, balance, predictions. But what about kindness? What about trust? What about giving someone a chance before deciding they're dangerous? The figure tilted its head. Emotions cloud judgment. Emotions make us human, Ari said. And that is the problem, the figure replied. Ari felt the room watching them. But they didn't back away. You think I'm dangerous because you can't predict me. But unpredictability doesn't mean harm. It means possibility. The figure's eyes dimmed slightly. Our records show that balance breakers always led to crisis. Ari shook their head. Maybe those records only tell part of the story. Maybe the others never had someone to stand with them. The figure stayed silent. Ari spoke again, voice steady but gentle. You think taking me will save the future. But taking away choice has never protected anyone. The figure's image flickered. You would risk the galaxy for your own freedom? Ari shook their head. I would protect my future the same way every other person gets to protect theirs. Reyes stepped closer to Ari, just within reach, letting them know they weren't alone. Ari took a slow breath. If you really believe I'm dangerous, if you really think hurting me is the only way to save the galaxy, then you don't understand what the galaxy needs. The figure leaned back slightly. And what do you believe it needs? Ari lifted their chin. Hope. The room went silent. The figure on the screen didn't move or speak for several long seconds. Then the signal crackled, and the image disappeared. Reyes stepped forward immediately. They're not gone, he said. They're deciding what to do next. Ari nodded slowly. They knew this wasn't over. Minutes stretched into an hour. Scientists monitored the enemy ship closely. Earth's defenses activated quietly but firmly. Yet no attack came. At last, the screen lit up again with a single message. The balance breaker will live. The future will decide. The rest. Then the ship turned slowly, silently, and drifted away from Earth. The entire room let out a collective breath. Ari sank into a chair, feeling their whole body loosen. They weren't taken. They weren't attacked. The precursor heirs had left not because they suddenly trusted Ari, but because Ari stood their ground with truth, not fear. Reyes knelt beside them. You did it? Ari shook their head. We did it. Humanity did. Reyes smiled softly. Maybe the galaxy needed to hear a human speak from the heart. Ari looked out the window as the dark ship became smaller and smaller in the sky. The Conco,